Welcome, Anastasia. My name is Rostislav. Welcome to this interview for your college experience. And if you want to introduce yourself, please go ahead.
Sure. My name is Nastya. I'm from Chernihiv, Ukraine, originally. I went to New York University in Abu Dhabi. It's a relatively new college, just been 10 years in
Hmm.
operation, but based on NYU, which has been around since like 1800. I majored in economics and
Hmm.
finance. I did a lot of interesting things in college, but now I ended up staying in the UAE, but moved to Dubai and I work now in investment banking as an
Hmm.
analyst.
Okay, that's really great to hear. And as far as I know, you were also part of the first cohort here in UGS. Can you
Yeah.
maybe tell me how was it like to be the first?
It's like, how is it to be the first child? Look, I mean, their organization definitely changed a lot, in these years, and definitely for better. When I just started, it was very much like a startup and a very
Hmm.
small family vibe. It was very nice. We got a lot of attention and support, but now I feel like students get much more structured
Hmm.
support. And of course, throughout these years, UGS was able to build relationships with boarding schools and universities, and this particular focus has been unparalleled, I think, in our admissions results. But it was a very exciting journey. It was like we were sort of building UGS together. I feel very lucky to be part of UGS, and I'm especially proud to see how much it has developed, in these 5 years.
It has definitely developed into a much bigger kind of startup than it was originally, and it's for the better, in my opinion. But okay, so you finished, I guess, university in 2020, right?
Yeah, in
S-
college.
Right. When you were applying back in 2015, 2016, why did you choose New York University and in Abu Dhabi? How did you know that it was your fit, or did you know at all?
I think it's definitely my fit. I cannot imagine a better university that I could have gone. I think it's very important to find the university that resonates with your personality. Me, I already lived in the US for a couple of years at the
Hmm.
time that I was applying. And while I still applied to a lot of schools in the US, I was especially excited about this one because it meant, I mean, going to the Middle East and sort of exploring the world. So, NY Abu Dhabi has a great academic program, obviously, like most universities. It's very competitive, very challenging. The students come from literally all over the world. We have students from like 110 different countries who speak like more than 80 different languages. So, in terms of diversity, I have not found a university like objectively that meets similar criteria. Then it's kind of a very nice package that they give you. They give you full financial aid plus flights. They give you internship funding and conference funding, and you have amazing living conditions. But to me, like I didn't know all that necessarily when I was applying. So for me, it was like also the study away opportunities because I got 2 semesters away included. I also got into the same university as my boyfriend. That was also pretty important to me.
Aw.
Yeah, yeah. He's now my fiance. So,
Oh, congrats.
it all worked out. So, and my Abu Dhabi, at least back then, before like COVID, they flew us for 2 days to experience life on this island.
Hmm.
And I think then and there, I kind of realized that's definitely my fit.
Okay. That's a very good explanation. And congrats on being like already engaged. That's very nice. Okay, so when you first arrived to the campus, what was your maybe biggest culture shock or like first impression?
A lot of people, when they arrive to the UAE for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
they think that this is all unreal. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible. Like it seems a little bit fake to feel
Mm-hmm.
because everything is just so futuristic, and I'm talking architecture, just how people behave, the level of safety here, just like unprecedentedly, like
Mm-hmm.
crime is almost non-existent, and all these things you think you come in a complete bubble, and this feels a little bit fake. Also because 40 years ago this was a desert, there was absolutely nothing, and now I don't know if you've seen pictures or came to the UAE, but it's like huge high skyscrapers, highest building in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
amazing facilities. So that was a little bit shocking
Yeah.
because my impression of the Middle East was that it's definitely not as well developed
Mm-hmm.
and much more conservative
Mm-hmm.
than UAE has been because it's a very liberal country, I think.
Wow. Okay. And did you ever like feel homesick because it's a very drastically different environment?
Yeah, people who are used to living away, and at that point I did flex,
Mm-hmm.
this exchange. I guess a lot of UGS students do it. Then I studied for 1 year in the US as well in college, and at that point you already learn that it's not like you're totally homesick. You always miss your family, but
Mm-hmm.
you're never in depression about it,
Yeah.
because you just learn to live independently. And I think that's the feeling I had throughout the 4 years. You kind of learn to build home away from home through your
Mm-hmm.
friends, relationships, etc.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. So while you were studying, did you ever have any challenges of adjusting to your campus culture? Did you have any issues with that?
The first semester was definitely brutal academically. Like,
I would
when
imagine so.
No, I mean, I came and I already studied in college. I took like quite challenging class and I was like, God, this is so easy the first 2 weeks. So it was like breezing through. And
Mm-hmm.
then the midterms came and I was like, this is actually serious. I think I got my first B plus. I was like, what? Yeah, so I definitely had to study a lot. Also, meeting people from countries you don't know
Mm-hmm.
existed
Mm-hmm.
was pretty shocking. Understanding how miserable your knowledge of geography is. A person is like, "Oh, I'm from Brunei," and I'm like, "Brunei?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's that?" You know?
And so you were kind of mentioning a lot of people from places that you didn't even know existed, like Brunei, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So was it kind of hard talking to them just because, or maybe how did you adjust yourself to them just because, it's like, once again, a very different mentality to yours?
Yeah. I think when you travel to different countries, it's a bit different than going to
Mm-hmm.
NYU Abu Dhabi, because the people who come to NYU Abu Dhabi, the reason they are accepted is because they are very open-minded
Mm-hmm.
and flexible and open to talk about their culture. It's pluses and minuses. So it doesn't necessarily tell you how exactly people are in those countries. It gives you a good proxy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
maybe people you meet once you go to Brunei, Nepal, or etc., might be a bit more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
To me, challenging was, and maybe still is to make friends and maybe have deep conversations with locals
Mm-hmm.
here, because so you can think of UAE as two or maybe three different countries. There are Emirati, and
Mm-hmm.
Emirati has maybe 10% of the population. They are generally very rich, also very family oriented, so it's very hard to break into the circle. Of course, at NY Abu Dhabi, a lot of people do make Emirati friends. It's just I didn't, I don't know, like I had other friends. It just happened like
Mm-hmm.
this. Then there is a sort of country of expats who
Mm-hmm.
are like in well-paid positions, and then there is a lot of expats from poorer countries, especially from South Asia, who work in
Mm-hmm.
the service industry. So that's the UAE in a nutshell. So to me, making friends with like Emiratis was a bit challenging. But again, the university makes a lot of effort, and
Mm-hmm.
so you can have like cultural trips
Mm-hmm.
and opportunities to learn more about UAE.
Okay, okay. So let's move a bit to the campus side of your experience. So how big is it? Is it all in one place, or do you have to travel all around like the city to get to where you need to be?
It's a great question. Very simple, but I think it's a great question. Helps people imagine how it is. So Abu Dhabi is a set of islands,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not just one place. It's a lot of different islands, and then there is one biggest island that's the downtown. And then a little bit to the right, there is a triangle-shaped island. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Sariyat. Sariyat means happiness in Arabic,
Oh.
and that's where Anwar Abu Dhabi is located.
Mm-hmm.
The island itself was supposed to be quite full, but
Mm-hmm.
by this point, like fully developed. But then 2008 sort of stroke, and a lot of the construction projects got paused. So
Mm-hmm.
on this island right now, there is like a couple of really fancy hotels, a couple of golf clubs, and Abu Dhabi. So that's pretty much the environment that you live in. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and Abu Dhabi is a campus, so you don't have to take bus to different
Mm-hmm.
locations. You can definitely walk, but it's a pretty large campus. You can easily go walking for like half an hour or an hour, like around. It's not like terribly huge, but there are maybe 20 different buildings or like 25 different buildings that you can go around. And it's also 2 layers. So that's a pretty cool thing about its
Mm-hmm.
construction. So you can actually walk on the second floor, which is called the High Line. And that's where students and so professors live. In that sense, it kind of becomes twice bigger. But I never thought size of the campus was a problem. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, for every student who comes to like a big university or a big college, I think, at least for me, the most important thing is the food that they serve here. So, what's your experience with it? Maybe experience with the dining halls, with the food?
I mean, I think we have a great dining hall. I think any
Mm-hmm.
dining hall, you'd get sick of it after
Mm-hmm.
2 years, like 1.5 to 2 years. So that's about the time when I was a little bit sick of it. But the first 2 years, I was really in love with it. I'll tell you why. So we have like a frozen yogurt machine. We have like free watermelon 3 times a day.
Okay.
We have like amazing steaks. We have I don't know, different sections. Like you have the Asian section, you have the Italian with the pizza pasta section. You have a
Mm-hmm.
salad thing, grab and go. Like if you're busy. So in that sense, there is a lot of variety. And breakfast especially is like amazing. You have like these pancakes and whatever. Like it's a maybe standard, but was very good
Mm-hmm.
quality. Like can say bad about it. It's just it's very similar food. Also they started to introduce this pretty cool thing in the last 2 years I was studying. It's called like food from different parts of the world. So
Mm-hmm.
they gathered recipes from students, and actually people would we had have like a Brazilian night or
Mm-hmm.
like a Ukrainian night or something
Wow.
like that. People, yeah, and then this food would be served to everybody on campus. There's this main like dining hall option, and then there's another set of different like cafes also on campus where you pay with like campus money, so you can get like sushi or you can
Mm-hmm.
get some like Mexican food. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's actually a very cool idea, especially with NYU Abu Dhabi being such a international place. It's a
Yeah.
very good idea to celebrate the actual international part of it. Okay, so for the last question about the campus, which is not really about the campus, what is your favorite place outside of the campus?
Now it's like my home in Dubai, but when I was studying, it was the golf club.
Okay.
So I know it sounds extremely fancy, but it's
Hmm.
just what we did, and I think it's incredible we got this kind of experience as students because you can get and you could actually play golf for free,
Hmm.
and then after that you could sit and watch the sunset, and you have these amazing like grass fields, and sometimes we would come with professors also like to hang out. That was my favorite place. And then there is also a Corniche, it's Corniche, like a beachfront
Hmm.
in the city. So if you come like just throughout the day to the beach or watching the sunset, there was like really cool.
Oh, okay, okay. And more moving to the cultural side of the campus or the student culture rather, what is it like? Are there any traditions in your class specifically, or were there any traditions, or in NYU Abu Dhabi in general?
Yeah, I mean, being sort of secluded on an island with
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know 300 people from your class, and we have maybe 1,500, I don't know, student body. Yeah, being like around those people, you definitely have some things that are purely in way of Dhabi. Like a lot of people drink like bubble tea, you have it at all the events. You have some catchy phrases
Mm-hmm.
that are just purely in way of Dhabi. But in our class, a pretty cool thing was when graduation, when graduation happened virtually. The night before, like a couple of us gathered in the outside amphitheater, and
Mm-hmm.
we made like a fake ceremony where we
Oh.
would walk across that amphitheater, and people would give us like fake diplomas. And that was super fun. And also, it was the time when it was not allowed to go outside after 6 p.m. or something
Mm-hmm.
because of the lockdown. And also, like one night before graduation, we all went on a campus like second floor that's
Mm-hmm.
Highline, and it was literally like maybe 50 or like 60 students with like loud music and all in
Mm-hmm.
robes. It was late at night. It was pretty cool.
Oh.
And then there is a different tradition that every year, so we have a pool for professors
Mm-hmm.
on campus and for their kids.
Okay.
You know where this is going. So people would like jump into the pool at night, like because usually the guards would stop you, but at that point they like
Mm-hmm.
didn't stop you. But we wanted to do the same, but they dried out the pool, so it wasn't
Oh.
really fun to jump into the pool without water. And then the last thing I guess I'll tell is kind of a tradition we created with our Ukrainian and Eastern European friends last year of college. My boyfriend and I, we got the multi cooker, which is not something that people usually
Mm-hmm.
get on campus. So we cooked like borscht and we cooked like a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of different things almost every day. So we had like gatherings of 10 15 people that were
Oh,
placed.
okay. Okay. So you talked about like Ukrainian. I just wanted to mention this. How maybe it was kind of some different feeling of being Ukrainian and maybe finding some other Ukrainian friends or like people from Europe and maybe Eastern Europe.
Mhm. Yeah, it was definitely a large part of my experience because I think compared to other American universities, we have a lot of Eastern European students.
Mm-hmm,
I have a lot of students from Ukraine. I mean, five, six maybe, and
mm-hmm,
that's quite a lot for an American university. We have a Ukrainian student interest group, and they organize events like Pascha or like Різдво,
mm-hmm.
and so we order like vareniki from a local
Oh.
woman who makes it in Abu Dhabi. Then there is a Ukrainian embassy in Abu Dhabi, so they make a lot of also different events and they invite
Mhm,
speakers. And then we had also former President Yushchenko coming on campus to speak because his daughter studies in our university. Just in general, like having people who like understand your culture and being able
mhm.
to discuss events with people who know about it and care about it, not just from Ukraine, but also people from Eastern Europe. Yeah, that was definitely a big part of my experience.
Okay. So about the students, is it very often that you see students being competitive, or rather you all help each other out and kind of get in study groups or?
Mhm. No, I think, and I've studied in places where the environment is
Mhm,
very competitive and kind of a bit snake-like, and Web Lab is not like that. Like, I'm very happy to say that. Like, there are some, of course, any college has their own like negative sides, but in
mhm,
terms of support, like that's one of the strongest things that NYU is definitely people are super willing to help you out and share opportunities, and we have like internal groups where people share different opportunities. I think the reason is because we don't have a curve, like a strict curve, then
mhm,
only like 10% of the class gets an A and then the rest get a B plus. Like in that sense, it would have been much more competitive. But in our case, we don't have a limit. It can be that nobody gets an A or it
Okay.
can be that, or it can be that, you know, a lot of people do. So, no, like people get together in study groups for sure.
Okay. Okay. So to round out this part of the interview, what are the three words that you would describe your community at NYU Abu Dhabi?
Probably like home away from home.
Oh, that's very cute. That is very cute explanation. Okay, so moving to the more academical side. So about your major, how does maybe your school support your future after majoring, like finishing your degree?
Yeah, I think economics is one of the strongest majors at NYU Abu Dhabi. So if people want to study economics, it's a good place to study it.
Mm-hmm,
We have a large variety of classes in this field. We not necessarily finance. Finance we have a little bit more like over the years as I study,
mm-hmm,
and I think they plan to develop it a little bit further. But I definitely benefit from going to NYU Shanghai and NYU New York in terms of finance class.
mm-hmm,
Then we have then how NYU Abu Dhabi supports. So there is summer funding. So if you get an internship in your field, you can get up to $4,000 from the university, and they can sponsor you for the summer. Then if you found a conference, for example, freshman year, we found a conference in Singapore that we really wanted to go to, and the university covered all of our expenses for a week to go to Singapore. And you have two chances like that throughout your career. And of course, like things, you know, change, evolve,
mm-hmm,
etc. But so far, like that's how it's been. And then we have really really good professors, and
mm-hmm,
they're because they live on campus, it's also very easy to connect with them. Not everybody, but a lot of
mm-hmm.
people live on campus, so we could, you know, eat with our professors in the dining hall. Sometimes it's awkward, but in most cases it's like really nice.
Mm-hmm.
We could go like for dinners with professors and we discuss ideas. It happened quite often actually that we went to discuss like an essay at a dinner, you know, or at a coffee shop with a professor, and not just in office hours, you know, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes it a little bit more personal. Yeah, I don't know if you
Okay.
have any other questions for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So studying finance and economics must be really hard. So what was the most challenging part of it? Maybe were you sleep deprived all the time? Were you like late night studying?
The most challenging part was econometrics in Shanghai. That was the
Okay.
most challenging part because you study pretty much math with
Mm-hmm.
maths with Chinese students, and I hate to stereotype, but that was brutal. Because those people, they come to you come to library at 7 a.m, they're there, you leave at 11 p.m, they're still there, those same people, and you're like, what am I doing wrong with my life? You
Mm-hmm.
know. And yeah, so at NYU Abu Dhabi, library closes at 2 a.m. So that's pretty much when I left the library almost every day, especially for the first 2 years. So and maybe it gives you a benchmark. So
Okay.
yeah, sleep deprived. Yes, first 2 years, last 2 years were a little bit easier because you already have the foundation. So you take classes that are interesting. You're more interested than sleep deprived. You're more sleep deprived from job searching than from your academic classes.
Okay, okay. So more about the more general questions. What would you say to yourself like 4 years ago when you were only starting college?
Oh boy. Embrace the unexpected.
Okay.
No, it's just a lot of things. So for example, I never imagined I would stay in the UAE after graduation. Or at least I thought I would stay like maybe for a year max and I would leave. But in these 4 years, I definitely reconsidered that decision. Now I'm planning to stay for at least a couple of years. And in general, like embrace the unexpected, like classes, or like I wanted to study psychology, for example, when I came to university. So I didn't really plan to go into economics right away. And I'm really lucky and happy that I did. And also like going on experiences like to China, or I went to Nepal with my class. I guess trying to make the most of those experiences and not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone was definitely something useful. Yeah, and something I would wish myself to do even more if I did it all over again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I wanted to ask you how just like for instance for all the people who got into college or are applying college this year, how do we make the best of our college experience, especially like first year?
First year, you have to plan it really well, especially with liberal arts schools. There is a tendency that you come and you purely explore. And I think it's great to explore, but you have to explore with a plan in a way, because you only get 4 years. It sounds like a lot, but for example, your job or your grad school or whatever you do after college really depends on your like on what you do in your junior's summer, and that depends on your sophomore summer, which depends on your freshman summer, and your freshman summer depends on what you do in November of your freshman year. So you come, yes, you have maybe a few months to adjust, but I would try to maybe make a list of everything you want to accomplish and then revise that list every half a year or every year. Really, really good advice, I think, which is something I didn't really do so much. Speaking to
Yeah.
seniors and juniors, when you arrive as a freshman, this is so incredibly important because they lift your way, they know exactly the challenges you're facing, and they can give you really good advice. And we had a couple of friends who were sophomores who are now incredibly successful, much more successful than like we are, because they they use this opportunity. You know? Yeah, so I would probably number one would be like speaking to juniors and seniors and like making one of them your best friend.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you talked about your trips to Nepal, Shanghai, and others. So would you recommend like studying a semester or two abroad, or like maybe, like you said, exploring every opportunity?
Yeah, 100%. I think a single semester abroad is like taking 5 AP classes,
Okay.
if that makes sense to you. Like, it's just the experience that you get is so valuable. I took like, AP classes and different classes. Of course, like you're not going to remember half of it, but I'll always remember and use my experience in Shanghai and in New York, and every person I know it. And Abu Dhabi took a semester away. And that's why I think our student body is very interesting. So I've never met a dull person, like sometimes you meet kids who are like, oh, why did you choose this school? Because my mom went here, or like, some legacy kids. You don't really have that at Abu Dhabi because it's a very new school. So everybody has a very interesting story. It can be a daughter of a sheikh. It can be a guy whose parents died in a genocide. So the financial backgrounds can be very different and the emotional backgrounds can be very different, but they're definitely interesting.
Okay, okay. So what was, I guess, the most memorable moment of your college experience, or maybe the most pleasant? Maybe finishing school, graduating?
No. I enjoyed it a lot in college. I mean, look, engagement was definitely great. And then, but apart from that, when my my boyfriend and I, we got jobs, and on the same day we now work in the same company. That was definitely, it's like a pinnacle of your
Yeah.
college career. That was a huge day for us because it's been like a 4-year journey, and finally kind of manifested itself into something. Yeah, and it's also like definitely an opportunity for the new future. A really memorable, funny experience is when we were in Shanghai and just experiencing the food that they eat there. It's like, I thought I like Chinese food, because I live in the US. It's great. It's like, sweet and sour chicken and stuff like that. But you come to Shanghai and it's like not what they eat. It's like, how about dog's blood soup? And you're like, you eat
Wow.
dog's blood, or like sheep's brain, or like, of course, those are like more rare, but like dog's blood is really common, for example. And this is kind of memorable, not pleasant. Yeah, the first were the most pleasant ones.
Yeah. Most memorable still counts. I would think if I had an experience like that, that would definitely be on the top, like you said. Okay, so for my last question, I guess, was it all worth it? Was it especially the difficult first year of UGS applying to colleges, writing essays, and then being like the first year of, was it all worth it? The pain, the tears, the blood?
The blood.
I
The
mean,
murders. Was it all worth it?
I mean, the dog blood, was it worth it?
Dogma. I actually have been applying to colleges for 3 years. So, and I know now a lot of students are lucky in a way that it only takes them 1 year
Yeah.
to apply. And I mean, 3 is like, one is, I wouldn't really count it, like 2 solid years of applying. And of course, it's worth it. It's like you cannot even imagine how your life would have been otherwise. The way you think, the person you become, how you're broad-minded, how many people you met, experiences you've had, it's like, it's insane. I was lucky to work in Frankfurt and in New York, and to slide off a Great Wall in China, and to go on a road trip across Europe, and to experience all those things purely like from a financial support of the university, and through my internships and jobs. And I would never be able to have this kind of life without the application process, in the university. And the friends you meet, the really high quality people you meet in university, that's also why it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for, I mean, providing such an opportunity to talk with you. Is there something you want to add, like as a cherry on top for future UGS applicants, or for the people who are applying right now? Just any words.
Yeah, I think UGS has grown into an incredibly strong community. So making friends within UGS, I think, is very important. Friends across generations of UGS, also very important, especially those, for example, you just got into boarding school, writing people who maybe not necessarily went to your boarding school, but who been through this experience for a year or two. And, now with COVID, maybe a bit challenging, but trying to meet with people in Ukraine and in US as much as possible, because these are the people who understand your cultural background, but they also understand your academic background. Once you graduate and start working, that would be quite difficult to find people like that. I would try to build relationships.
Yeah, okay. So thank you once again. And yeah, good luck with your work in Abu Dhabi and on your engagement as well. Yeah, okay. Thank you.